Alright, today we're going to go over installing a full brand new steering wheel, the center trim piece to match, new shifter paddles, the M1 and M2 buttons, and this is just a part of the cover for the buttons that has the cutout. So first step you want to do when you're doing this, guys, especially anything electrical on BMW, is we need to disconnect both batteries. So up here it is a 13mm nut. Take them off, tuck them out the way. Very important with BMWs with electrical work, but especially if you're ever messing with an airbag, guys. Back main 12-volt battery. It is a 10mm. Take them off, put them to the side, and then we can get started on the inside. So I'll get you guys positioned, and then I will show you step by step how to do this. So even if you only want to install paddles or only want to do the M buttons, whatever, you can skip to the section for that. But this is going to be a full start to finish new wheel, M buttons, including what you need to do in the center console to get those M buttons connected and working. Alright, first step is going to be getting the airbag off. So again, make sure both batteries are disconnected in the front and rear of the car. So what we'll have to do is, you'll see right here, there is an indentation. So what you'll have to do, one downside to this, is you will have to poke a hole there. So if it's never been done, it'll just be like a slight dimple or an indentation. You will have to kind of puncture that and poke through. But once you get done, obviously you can see I've done it before, so the hole is a little bit more noticeable. But once you get done, you can kind of tuck and play with that to where it's smooth, flat, and you won't even see it. So for the sake of the video, I have already done so I can show you on the inside. So once you do that, I will put the screwdriver here in the hole, and I'll show you where we're going. There is a channel it comes up through here, so you can kind of see it poking through right there. Here is a little spring, so when you hit that, you will see him move. So you can see he's stiff, but you can see it move. It even moves up here too, and it will pop the airbag right off. You'll have two connections, or one main connection. There'll be this guy here. Best thing to do is get you a little small flathead screwdriver, smaller than the one you used to pop off, to get this clamp here. Same thing for this guy. I've already unclipped them just so it's easier to film with one hand. And then you'll get this guy out of the way as well. This is a 16mm nut. So let me slide this airbag back here out of the way. So then you'll get your impact here. You can do it with a just a hand ratchet. Just make sure you're holding the wheel and not just cranking down. Make sure you hold the wheel with one hand, loosen it up on the other. He's already semi-loose. So we'll crack him off. 16mm bolt, set him to the side. And then this is another important step. Once you do that, he will come right off. This is your clock spring here. Do not touch this. Do not rotate it when the steering wheel is off. So do not mess with that. Try not to bump it. Don't touch it. You don't have to put masking tape. I see some people put like some masking tape from like here to here to kind of keep it from moving. But everything else now will be out of the car until the steering wheel goes back on. So you're not really going to accidentally hit or bump it. So slide your steering wheel off, take it to a workbench or a table, and then I will show you the rest of the steps following that. Alright guys, next up, let's go ahead and get a T8, a T20, and a T25. This is what we'll be using to disassemble the trim and the paddles from the steering wheel. So make sure we can see this. Once we get in here, I'll use my screwdriver as a pointer. You got a blue connector on each side, left side, right side. This is for your paddles. They'll be kind of tucked in here. We're just going to pop them out of the way and then unplug them on both sides. And then, as you can see in here, we'll have one Torx on each side to remove the paddles. So go ahead and do that. And this one is going to be your T20. You don't have to have an impact for this either. I just got mine on my lowest setting and it is still plenty. So we'll pop him off. Pop the other side off. Little magnet is kind of helpful to fish some of these screws up and out of the way. Once you remove them, because they kind of sit in the chassis of the wheel. And set those two aside. So flip them over. He's just going to slide right out. So there's your two paddles. So you can see it's just a small hole for the connector to go through. So once we get the paddles out of the way, we will swap those last. We'll flip our wheel over. We will have two T25s on the back of this wheel. Each side here. So just one on each side. Don't drop it. Set those off to the side. And now what that will allow us to do is pull this whole trim piece here off. Little plastic pry tool. There's the main clip almost just about under the M logo here. So we will just wedge in the side up under here. And then he pops straight up. Trim starts to come off. You'll have this purple pinkish connector here if you have the heated steering wheel. Disconnect him. And I'll show you the little trick. If you have a little small flathead, just simply slide it between the two connectors here. Give it a small slight twist like that to loosen it. And it'll pop right off. Just remember it's plastic, so it does not take much. Alright, so once you do that, there's your trim piece. So we will have to swap over obviously the steering wheel controls and the heated steering wheel button. So we will set this aside and then do that when that time comes. So if you're not replacing the steering wheel, then you'll only have one more step. So I will show you those. That way it'll make it easier for the people not doing the entire steering wheel. So we'll have 4 of these T20s to take off. For the upper top trim piece, again, this is where that magnet kind of helps get some of these out. Alright, so you'll see you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 for this upper trim. So you'll replace this if you're doing the M buttons, and of course you'll have to take it off anyways if you're doing the wheel. So you can see the standard one is flat. The one with M2 button has the cutouts for where the buttons will go. So remove him. We can set him aside. So what I'll do now is for the people who are not replacing the actual steering wheel, you can skip and continue. Once I get this wiring harness and everything swapped over to the new wheel over here, then you can pick back up and follow me with doing the routing for the M buttons and then the paddles. So next section, we're going to go ahead and swap this wiring harness over to the new wheel. So let's set these over here. Let's prep them side by side and give you guys a better angle here so you can kind of see both. So just as you work, disconnect and swap over one at a time. So I'll get going on this and then show you guys what you need to do or what you need to know. That way I can show you the better angle and how exactly we need to swap it over one at a time. Just to note, for my steering wheel, this is a fully loaded wheel, as in it has the Pro Driver Assist package and the heated steering wheel. So we'll have some extra steps. So, alright guys, so one thing to note, these are T25s with springs under each one. So when you remove them, be careful, do a little bit out of a time and move around. So a little here, and just slowly work this up evenly because there's some springs under it. We have the vibration motor here with these two torques. So we're just going to work around, loosen all this stuff up, and then work this off. So the ones for the motor is the T20. Everything here I'm using on the lowest torque setting of my gun here, because just about all of this goes into plastic, with some of them going into the aluminum base. So just keep that in mind. We definitely want to go easy on these. So we'll see our wiring harness is going through some channels here. So I'm just going to work our way around, get you a pry tool. You'll see right here's like a little rubber stud or nipple. We'll have to work our way under these and pry up this plastic trim. So it looks like there's one here on the other side, and I'm sure some more. So just going to work around and see what is needed. I don't see any more screws here, so we need to get our heated steering wheel connector up, get him disconnected. It's got a little ground strap right here. This guy off, slide him out of the way to safety, or you can even just set him in the new wheel as a placeholder. We'll have a ground strap here. This is just a stud, so we're going to pry him off, pry this guy off, and then just continue working around. So hopefully you can see it as I do this, because you are just sitting on a tripod. And just work your way around him. Alright, so the wiring harness is coming all the way off on this side. I don't really see anything else, so try to work up this entire trim very carefully. Alright, he is up. The vibration motor is up and loose. I don't see any other screws there. Get this guy fully off on this side. I will continue working easily here and let you guys know what else there is to disconnect. That way you can actually get a good view and see what's going on. Alright, so I was just being a baby playing it safe. So this whole plastic trim does come up. So there's two more, two more of those little plastic studs. You'll see they go here and here. Get your pry tool under there, and as you can see, this entire plastic chassis of the wiring harness comes up with the vibration motor. Looks like the heated steering wheel of course stays. We have one more wire coming around here around the back that we need to undo and disconnect. Not sure exactly what that part is. If not the heated steering wheel. There we go. So this little guy here, that may have something to do with our module coming later. No, not him. We'll figure him out as we go. So, boom, go ahead, immediately set him into your new wheel. So I will just set this guy here, roughly set this guy, swap them. Let's bring this new beautiful wheel over here, roughly set them in place, and let's reverse that procedure, and let's get him back in place. So we'll start with the vibration motor, loosely set this into place. It also has the little spots for those studs to pop in. So line all of those up. And squeezes right on in there. Nice tight fit, so you have to give them a good little persuasion push. And once you do, you'll feel them pop and slide right into those same 3 slots. So this is on a OEM base, so everything is going to be exactly the same. So it is going to fit like it should with no issues. All right, so you have those 2 down there. You have to push in with those rubber studs, and then you have that one here, here, and then this one that's right here. You can see. So get him on there, get all those pushed in. We're going to route our wiring harness back through our channels, up and around through these channels in here, like it was. Sorry if you can see that. So let's route those wires through. I mean, you can see the indentions of where they were before, so you can line them up exactly where they were. You'll have that little ground guy. Now, my thought process is, I'm trying to open this tool drawer below you guys. Slide you back a little bit. It's probably like a little 10 or 8 millimeter. Let's see, 8 millimeter looks perfect. Slide you back close. Little 8 millimeter socket. And what you can do is line the stud up, or that little ground strap. Get you a socket that's just big enough, which even 8 may be a little big, and just use this to push it down flat and to get everything to bite and line up like it should. Kind of tap them into place if you need to. It don't take much, and it does have a little guide to twist them to get them flat. So I'm going to rotate them a little bit. A little bit more. There we go. Now get that socket again. It'll wiggle back and forth, and then he is down nice and flat. So you can see, line up the little notch, get your socket. That will push it down nice and flat and get all of those little fins to bite back. So now we got all of that done. For the wiring harness, careful with this, guy. As you can see, the springs I was telling you about. So when we tighten it back, we need to make sure we pay attention to that. Do the same thing so that it will evenly go down. So just drop him back down in here. Line him up. Alright, so that's going to be the, I think, the T25. Get him started by hand, because we definitely would not want to cross thread this guy into the base of the wheel, because that would be a very bad day. So me get that on my socket. That way I can do that by hand. Because you got those springs, so you have to kind of put some force to push down into it, but you want to make sure it's the spring force you feel and not cross thread. So that feels pretty good. Work your way around. Make sure you're not pinching your connectors that are underneath that go to the clock spring and stuff. So we're all good all the way around. All of that looks good, and I'm just going to work on continuing to tighten those up as evenly as possible. I think I'd just rather do that by hand. Make me feel a little bit better. A little on each one at a time. It's got a good bit of thread before it bottoms out, so. Bless me, guys. Sorry about that. Uh-oh. Getting close. Some pretty stout springs. This is the mechanism and the springs that we were doing with a screwdriver that the airbag snaps into. Go until they bottom out, which he did. Him as well. Make sure everybody bottomed out, it's fully tight. Alright. So yeah, I would advise with hand. That felt much better than trying to do it with the little impact there. So you can see our heated steering wheel comes back and lines up. So we'll route him around, plug him up, and then tuck him back down in his little groove here. We'll get our vibration motor. Make sure he is sitting all the way down. And then we'll put him back. He is not wanting to line up for me. So it looks like those may not be threaded, or these may have to thread themselves. I see no threads there. is very soft, so it does kind of bite and make its own threads. You can still feel it by hand. Put him back on the low setting. Alright, so we got a heated steering wheel plugged back in, our vibration motor plugged back in, our wiring harness is routed back the way it needs to be. Everything that can be plugged in is plugged in. Let's not forget this ground strap here that we took off this chassis. He just slides right onto that guy. Now everything's plugged back in that can be. So now we can start to reverse the procedure and start with the new trim, paddles, and then start putting this back together. Alright guys, next up we're going to do the wheel trim. If you're not changing this for whatever reason, then you're good. If you want to change it to carbon, you can get it in the leather to match the OEM wheel leather, or the Alcantara like I have here to match the sides of the new wheel. So excuse any extra noise, neighbor is moving. So what we'll do is just get these side by side. Let's flip them over. This is where we'll have our T8s. You'll have 2 on the heated steering wheel button, 3 on each module on the side, and then we're just going to loosen him up, drop him over, and slap him right on the new one. So this process is very easy. Again, little screw gun on the lowest setting, T8. All right, collect your screws. Set those aside. So pay attention how it is routed when you take it off. The button is separate for the heated steering wheel, so you can set him aside. Module's going to come right up. Again, pay attention to how the wiring harness is. You're just going to take him out of the little wire loops that he is in. And then once you do that, lift them up, bring them over to the new one. Line up his screws, because it does have a little like dowel guide tab, so you can't really mess it up. Push the wire where it needs to go. Add your screws in. Very careful with these, as just about everything else is just screws into plastic, so they don't have to be super tight. Snug them down. Put our heated steering wheel button. Harness goes under him, because you'll see he actually has a little thing here for the harness to flow under. So do this last, and then put his 2 screws in. I like to get one side just kind of started to help hold him in place, since he's loose and you're holding that wiring harness down. So So snug them down. Alright, once you do that, make sure your button's good. You hear them clicky. So it's all good, not binding. Everything else is good. Cut out for the lights, fits well, flush. And then when I say for the lights, the Driving Assist Pro has little lights here that light up. So that is it on this. So let me move this old trim out of the way. And then what we can do is bring our steering wheel back in the middle. And now that that's done, we'll start with our top trim piece. So if you're doing the M buttons, this will be the cutout piece. It just simply slides in from the top. And then you can also see here, he's kind of got the channels that the wiring harness routes into. So pay attention to that when you're dropping it in from the top. Clip him up in there, that way he sits flush and out of the way. And then work him on down. And he's got clips on the side. So we won't screw those down yet because the same screws that go on each side hold the M buttons. So hang tight on that. Let me adjust you guys too so you can make sure we're keeping this steering wheel in frame here. Alright, so we got him just kind of popped down into place. He's nice and flush. Wiring harness is routed and out of the way. Then we can go ahead and add the M buttons. So, M1 and M2 buttons. These are a must, by the way, guys. If you're not super familiar, once we hook this up, your right button or your M2 button will cycle between comfort mode and eco mode. Your M1 button, your left button, will cycle through your sport mode. So sport, sport plus, sport individual. The center console button still will work. It doesn't affect that. But it's once you have these, you won't go back, man. It's just so simple to be cruising in traffic. Somebody's messing with you, you want to pass somebody, whatever, just a quick tap, do your thing, opens the exhaust valve, and then one click back to go back to comfort. And it does have memory. So let's say you're in Sport Plus last. Whenever you start the car, obviously it'll be back in comfort. But when you hit this button again on the sport side, it will go back to your last used mode. So whether that be Sport, Sport Plus, Sport Individual, it will have memory on that. So we'll drop these in here. And then I'll show you a close-up on how we need to route any of the cabling so that they are out of the way. So we'll set them in place. On this side, we'll go ahead and just start the screws to hold them in place while we route the wiring harness, and then get the other side in. Get these started through this plastic first. They're kind of tight. All right, now we can line them up and start them in the wheel. And there we go. And then we'll go ahead and mount the other one, and then we'll make sure we get everything routed the way it needs to go. So we'll go ahead and clip the paddle shift connection out of the way. It's got a little thing it clips into, you'll see on both sides to keep them out of the way. Go ahead and clip them in, and then we will route the M button. What I will do is unplug this ground here, and we're going to go under him. So unplug him, route the thick part, main part of this harness under there, and then once I do that, I will show you a close-up so you know what I mean, because he tucks down in there perfect. go ahead and let me start these screws for this side. This wheel is going to look amazing, man. I'm very excited for this. Alright, you stay right there. Alright, got these started by hand. So you'll see harness comes up, over. He's just going to tuck in here. And then we're going to go under this module, under this button. There's plenty of room. You'll see it's going to go between the button and here and come out right where we disconnected that guy. So once you route him here, this is him. Go ahead and plug your little ground strap back up. And boom. And then we'll continue down. So now we got all that routed where we want to. We'll go ahead and screw these in. Again, these are just going into plastic. Well, actually they're going through plastic and into the aluminum base, but still be careful when you screw these guys in, because it does not take much. I got that on the lowest setting there. Make sure they're in. Make sure they move freely. Nice and clicky. Boom, done. So now we will move closer down here. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of tuck him on the side and get him out of the way to where he doesn't interfere with the airbag or anything. So, try to find some room to tuck this guy, because it is a little bit of a tight fit. So you just gotta be careful, because this is where the trim of course pops in, and then the airbag as well, so you got to make sure we tuck them enough to get them out of the way, and as we put those on we'll know if we need to do any more. So this end stays disconnected. We just gotta make sure we got room for them here. Let's see if we could slide. Okay, he does slide right there. Sweet. All right, so now see, will both of these wedge in there? Come on. All right, there we go. I think that's going to be plenty. Alright, so I kind of just crammed them in this section here, got them tucked up. This guy is going to go back to our trim. So that is it. So now what we can do is you can go ahead and do the paddles now while you got a little bit more room. Doesn't really matter, you have plenty of room either way. So let's slide this up and I'll walk you through the paddles very quickly, as it is very simple. So what you're going to do is lay them side by side. All you have is one pin. You'll see this guy here, he is thinner on one side, thicker on the other side. So we want to start with the thin, push that out, and once he pops out, you're just going to hold him in place, because there's a spring under here. Best thing to do is to turn them upside down like this, and the spring is in the back. You'll kind of wiggle him, he'll come out like that. You're done. Bring your new one, Same process. You see these two clips here. You'll start him under there on that spring. He works right up. Boom. Hold your finger there, and then push your pin back through. Well, I'm trying to look at you guys. It's not quite. There we go. Not quite lined up. Making sure you can see that. He pushes through. Get him in there. Push him. Make sure he's nice and flat. Pull it in. Make sure he's clicky. Clicky means he's workies. He's good. Same thing on the other side. Start with a small one. Small side. Pull out his little clip. Hold him like this. Roll out the back. Very gently without losing that spring. Other paddle, drop them down the same way. Boom. Get your pin. It only goes one way, so don't force it, you'll know. Push him, make sure he's nice and flat. Boom. Click test. He's clicky. Now, bring him back to the wheel. And what we can do is turn them down. Obviously make sure you know these will flip. So all you'll do is route his cable through. Well, actually, I'm sorry, before we do that, we do have to put the trim on first because we gotta get to these screws. So hold that thought. Let's slap that trim on first. So again, the main trim has the big clip here that lines up in the middle of the bottom of the steering wheel. He lines up here. The rest clips in up to these guys. Line these up. Once he clips in, then you got the two screws on the back. So make sure we plug our heated steering wheel in, and then both or the module over here on this side. So we'll set them down, get our connectors plugged up. Heated steering wheel clicks. And then our trim module here. Which comes from the M2 harness. So we have to make sure we don't do what I just did and leave him unplugged here. So alright. So now I'll have to tuck all that back in that I just tucked up, but that is okay. So let me get all that tucked back in like we had it, and then we'll push that guy in. Alright guys, get it all routed. Everything is in. You can see it's just tucked over here to the side. Two screws for the back are in. So now we're ready for our paddles. So we've already got them all done at this point. So all we're going to do is slide through or feed through this. So as you can see, just slide them through. And you'll just kind of hold them in place. You will pull him through this front side here. Get his slack out. And then he kind of just falls into place on the back. So what you'll do is you'll kind of hold him, and then we will put in his screw. So you can set him down, and against the wheel we'll kind of hold him in place, and then we can reach in there and start his screw. I'll just get them finger tight, and then we'll go back and zip them both at the same time. Same thing for the other one. Feed his wire through. This is going to be the trickier side, since this is where the most wiring is. Find them, pull them through like so. We'll make sure the back of the paddle is in the wheelbase like it needs to be, and then we'll move these wires out the way and then start his screw. Again, this is going to be the trickier one, given the extra connectors that we now have. Starting by hand while we're holding from the back, make sure he's flush. Both look good flush. And then we'll go ahead and tighten them on up. All right. There, you're good. Screw it in. Now, blue connectors are the paddles. So you'll go blue to blue. Should we plug those guys in? And then he has a little spot to snap in to hold him out of the way. I'll show you that. So blue to blue. Get those connected. And I'll show you on this side. So you'll see it's got a little place for him to go, a little black clip that holds him from moving around and to keep him out of the way. So this side's just going to be a little harder because obviously we have the other connector from the M buttons. So, but he will still go in the same place, just a little bit tighter. May have to actually pull the M button one out. Get him out of the way. Get your blue one down in there. Snapped in. So snap your blue one in on the clip, and then you can tuck your other one in there. So ground wire, everything's plugged up, everything's tucked out the way. Paddles are in, M buttons are in. Make sure they're not hitting, make sure they are free. And now we're ready to go throw this back into the car. Alright, so inside the car, if you look here on your splines, there is a little indentation line there. And then on here, there's also a little line. If the camera will focus. There it is. So that's how you'll line them up. Again, make sure you don't move, rotate the clock spring. So we're just gonna go ahead and slide the wheel on. Alright, so we're gonna slide the wheel on like I said. Slowly line up the splines. It's only gonna go one way. Get them in there, shimmy them, wiggle them in a little bit. Get your bolt, 16mm. And we're going to tighten him up. And then we'll make our connections. So, actually let me get an adapter because I don't want the gun hitting the new wheel. Alright, now we got the extension. Now I can fully tighten them on. Alright, set him aside. And then I'll bring you inside and then we'll go back over the connectors and then the airbag. Alright, so we'll got 2 connectors to do here. And then the airbag will be that last one there. So, do this one hand for you here. You should hear it click. Hear him click. And then we'll plug the airbag in. And he'll just snap in because he's going to be on these springs. So plug him in, line him up. And you're going to pop one side in, pop the other side in. And then we'll be done. Alright guys, last bit is the module that goes in the center console. I've already taken some things loose, but I'm still going to walk you through it just so it's easier to record with one hand. So we're going to start in the center console. Open this guy up. This trim piece just pulls straight up. Pull him out of the way. You don't even have to unplug him. Then you can just get a pry tool, pry here, pry here. Your whole center trim just pulls up with nothing but clips. Set them aside. Then your center console shifter assembly has 3 T25s or T20s on each side. So 1, 2, 3, mirrored on the other side. 1, 2, 3. You're gonna pop those out, and then pull this guy up. And then once you do, you will have 2 connectors on here. This guy you have to stick the screwdriver in, like I said earlier, just kind of flat. And then just twist him just a little bit to pop him out. This guy has a latch, so let me set this down and I will show you. This is what people struggle with the most, but it's this guy. He's just got a latch. He will be up like this. You will push this little locking tab down here. You'll push him down and that will allow you to pop him this way, and that opens and then he'll come off. So I have the Infinite Auto Works wiring harness already in here. 3M, stick your box right here. This guy just tucks out the way, and then we're just going to leave him like this for now, and I'll show you where to plug him in. And then the hardest part that scares a lot of people, this is the rest of the wiring harness. I'll show you where those plug in, but you have to still a wire. So you'll have this yellow guy coming out into a connector, and then what you'll have to do is on this side there is a little tab right there. You'll stick a screwdriver right there to pry him out, and then what happens is the connector slides out of this outer connector shield. Set him aside. We'll just throw him up there. Then what you have to do is you have to come in on this connector. You still the one that is plugged in. Let's see if I can get you the number. If I can get it to focus. Alright, so what we have to do is, if you're looking at it like this, you see a number 10 on this top corner. That is to let you know that is pin number 10, which is that red cable you see at the top left looking at it this way. What you need to do is go over to pin number 12, so red's 10, 11, 12. There is a white wire here, which I have already stolen. It would be this guy. So what you do is you take out that on pin number 12. So if you look up top up here, you will get you a small screwdriver on 12. You'll push this little pin out, just very gently depress this little pin. That white cable will slide right out of the connector, and then you will supply, or you will just pop it into this connector here that's supplied by Infinite Auto Works in the harness. It will just pop, clip right in, and then on this other light bluish, just like a white light blue, that's coming out of the included harness from Infinite Auto Works. You pop it into that same pin number 12 that we just took the other one out of. So to recap, once you take this guy off out of his little connector shield, take out pin number 12, which is a white wire. Then you'll move it over into the connector supplied by Infinite Auto Works, and it will plug into this yellow end. and then you'll have one loose hanging wire out of the harness from Infinite Auto Works. You will take it and then pop it right back into location pin 12 where we took the white wire out of. And then once we do that, we can put our shielding back on. So he will just slide right back in, so you'll line him up. You'll hear him snap. He is clipped in. So we already have this guy connected, and then we'll go through the rest of the connections. The rest of the connections are easy. They will only go one place, so there's nothing you can mess up or get confused. So I will try to do this one hand as well. Again, hard to mess up because, like I said, they will only go to one place. Oh, maybe I can't do it with one hand. Let me see if I can close this center console lid maybe and set you down. There we go, perfect. Alright, so then we'll plug this guy in. Clicks. We'll just go through the next connector in the harness, which is female, and we'll go into this guy here that we took out of the shifter. This is what was plugged in directly to the shifter, so we're just intercepting him, putting him into this harness, and then that's it. So this goes back into the bottom of the shifter, this guy here, and then your big one with the lock will go back into the shifter base. So recap, we have the box, you just mount them down here. Out of that comes into this connector, and then it comes into this harness here. And then this female connector will plug into what goes into or this purple maroonish whatever that comes out of the shifter base plugs into the harness as well. And then you get left with this male, which will go back into the shifter harness, and then the hard part that we just went over. So that's what it looked like when it's all clipped back in. Take everything out of the way down in here, and then all you have to do is plug this back into the shifter base and then this big connector, and then reinstall the center console, and then we can then we're done and we can test functionality of the M buttons. Alright, kind of try to prop you up here so you can see this. This is the big locking tab connector. This is unlocked. It has to be unlocked to slide in. He slides in like so. As you push in, that collar will start to come down, and as you do that, it will push in, lock, clip into place. So you got that other single connector, and that's it. Drop this bad boy back down, making sure we're not hitting any wires. Line up all of his tabs like that. Put his 6 Torx bits back in. Pop your trim back on. Alright guys, very last step, reconnect your batteries. Make sure that is the last step. So do everything you want with your steering wheel, everything with the shifter and the harness under there. Do not attempt to even just do the harness, because you have to unplug the shifter and do that stuff. If you do that with the batteries on, quite a few people have fried the shifter assembly. So everything's plugged in. Last thing is reconnecting the batteries. Power up the car here. And then I don't know why it says the key is missing. He's down there. There we go. Close everything up there so the car's not too loud. So we'll hit our, so we'll see we're in comfort. We'll hit our left button, Sport Individual, hit it again, Sport, Sport Plus, hit the right one, right back to comfort. So you can see up there, boom, Sport Plus, it just goes through everything. With the left one's always Sport, right one will put you back Comfort. Center console button for the Sport button still does work. But that's it, guys. There's the install of the wheel with the paddles, the M buttons, done.